What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Guarani Vision, the first ever podcast dedicated to Paraguayan football in English. As always, I'm Roberto Rojas, and joining me are my two great co-hosts, Ralph Hannah and Maria Britos. And guys, obviously, we are coming off a really crazy Superclasico. Obviously, we're going to talk about what happened at La Nueva Olla. Obviously, we look into how a certain Paraguayan is actually finding his form in Europe. We'll talk about who in particular and the national team are actually coming back stateside for a few friendlies, but not before taking on a country that unfortunately will not be going to the World Cup in South America. So definitely a lot to discuss. Let's go straight into a place that I think a lot of Paraguayans, or at least the center of Paraguay, is definitely going to be focused on in about, I'd say, less than a month's time for both of you guys, actually. But let me start with Ralph as well on this one, because, certainly, we got the news a couple of days ago that Paraguay will be playing a friendly in Miami against Colombia. We'll talk about that more in a bit, but I think it's a good way to I guess end off what's really been a turbulent year for the national team. But obviously they want to end it on a high, especially on this new kind of process for the next World Cup.
Yeah. They have to keep building. Hi, guys, by the way. They have to keep building on what we've been seeing in the last few friendlies, which has been a bit more positive. And it's great news for us, for Maria and I, that they're coming down here to South Florida. I didn't expect at the beginning of the year to see Paraguay play twice in a year. So I'm pretty pleased about that opportunity. And yeah, Miami's like, this is the best time of year for Miami sports as well, because you have the season just started, NBA. So the Heat played this week. You got Dolphins are playing. You have Inter Miami, unfortunately knocked out on Monday of the MLS playoffs. Miami FC go head-to-head tomorrow with Tampa Rowdies. So there's a lot happening, and then this is like a nice way to round it off with Paraguay coming to town. And just like in Atlanta, we'll be happy to meet anybody who watches us or listens to us and build up that community of Paraguayan football in English, which is kind of what we set out to do 2 years ago. We've been doing this for like 2 years now. So that will be good fun, and looking forward to it. Also looking forward to the show, even if the result in the Clásico didn't go my way, but there's a lot to talk about.
Well, it certainly went the way of another person in this call, and I'm glad that we have someone here to speak about it. Maria, and obviously a very happy Maria Britos, coming off of Olimpia's win in the Superclasico, to do it on away soil at La Nueva Olla certainly puts them in good confidence to really go and lead this title. They're not leaders as of yet, because obviously, and we're going to tie into this kind of conversation right now, because, obviously Nacional ended up playing Club Guarani afterwards, but because of the point difference, Nacional actually leapfrogged everyone else and are currently in first place, but the gap is only getting close. And, one of the things that I think for this Olimpia side, Maria, is that like it feels like destiny for them, because it feels like this team, like, every time we speak about them, we think, no, it's too soon. We don't know if they're good enough yet. Can they really compete? But they keep surprising us, and they get results like they did on Sunday. And now, like I said, I think if I'm in your shoes, Maria, I think I feel very confident to win this Clausura title.
I think so too. I would agree with you there, Roberto. Hey guys, hey Ralph. It was definitely an exciting game. And like we said, we're gonna talk about it in a few. So I think Olimpia fans right now are just over on their honeymoon stage. They're excited. They see hope, like you say, Roberto, and I think that's great. Like the team is showing confidence again, and they're showing that they can prove and get results. So that's exciting, and I'm happy to see that again finally after a while. I just hope that it continues, and they don't get off this peak for a long time. Hopefully winning the Clausura.
Well, certainly we know how dramatic Paraguayan league football can be. So you never say it's over until the tournament ends in Paraguay. But let's go straight into it. Obviously, the Superclasico happened between Cerro Porteño and Olimpia at La Nueva Olla, the fifth time I think they've played against each other this year, because they played each other in the Copa Libertadores, the league, in the Apertura, and now the Clausura. So it's been, sorry, 6 times now. So it's been very much familiar foes for both the managers Chiqui Arce of Cerro Porteño and Julio Cesar Cáceres of Olimpia. They go into this game, obviously Cerro Porteño needed to win this one because they would have at least tried to extend the gap further after the 0-0 draw against Nacional, and it ended up really badly for them. 11th minute, Darius Gonzalez gets the ball off from a really great assist from Tito Torres, who I thought was really fundamental in this game to assist. I thought he was very much the MVP of it, if we can choose it. Darius beats the two defenders, the two center backs, and scores the first goal. Obviously, Cerro Porteño tried to get into this game and try to score and pressure them off. Marcelo Martins Moreno getting the equalizer just 20 minutes from time. But just before the end of the match, in the 84th minute, Richard Ortiz sending in I don't know if it's a bicycle kick or a volley, but a wonderful shot past the goalkeeper, Jean, to get the winner and, to get all 3 points for Olimpia to beat them yet again at La Nueva Olla. I mean, Ralph, talk about two different moods from both these sides after this game. Obviously, Olimpia are on a high. They haven't lost in the last 5 games. And getting a result over there at La Nueva Olla, I think, is huge. I think it's huge for any team because Cerro Porteño don't tend to lose. But from a Cerro perspective, I mean, it's just gone bad to worse. When you looked at it, though, they were really going to go into this league and continue to fight for it. Now they have a lot to really grab back to. And with the league heading into a close in the next few weeks, it's going to be very, very hard for them to do so, especially with Nacional, like I said, now leapfrogging them in the top of the table. So, yeah, I mean, talk about two different moods from both sides. I mean, what was your impressions of the match from your perspective and from both perspectives of Cerro and Olimpia?
Well, I think from Olimpia, what we saw in those first 11 minutes is exactly what they've been doing. This has been their key to success in the last few games. I think the last 5 games they've been leading at halftime. And so they hit teams early and they hit teams with that very direct style. In this case, I was kind of surprised, I guess, how much Cerro was standing off Tito Torres to give him that time to play the pass. But if you really look at it, Olimpia weren't kind of piling into the box. It's just Darius Gonzalez. And what he does is very well gets between the two centre backs, between Patiño and Alexis Duarte. And you can see them kind of arguing with each other straight after the goal. But it's just great movement, really, from Gonzalez. But the problem for Cerro was surely they would have gone into the game knowing that this is what Olimpia have been doing recently, this direct style and this good start to games, and they would have wanted to see it out. And so they're almost immediately on the back foot. And then Olimpia gets so hard to play against if they're leading because they're so good on counterattacks. So Cerro had to find a way to try and get themselves back into the game without leaving themselves open to a second goal. And for Cerro, what we were seeing was what I kind of expected when I saw the team sheet, because we talked about this, I think we talked about it last week as well, that when Carrizo and Aquino play together, they're occupying the same space, and Cerro found it really hard to score. In fact, I was looking at it, and they've scored 1 goal in the 322 minutes they've been on the pitch. The Cerro usually average a goal every 50 minutes. So at the moment, this Carrizo Aquino kind of double, I don't know, it's not a double pivot because they're 2 attacking midfielders. I don't know what to call it, but it's not working, whatever it might be. And then as the game starts to break down, and I suppose you get into the chaos stage of the game with the substitutes and everybody pushing forward, you thought Cerro had done the job through a very good, well-taken goal by Martins, who sometimes hasn't scored as many goals as Cerro would have hoped for this year, but he does pop up with those important strikes. And you thought they'd done the job. Julio Cesar Cáceres, if we're honest, did not bring on Richard Ortiz as a substitute to score the winning goal with a scissor kick. He brought him on to close the game out. I think both teams at that point would have been fine with a draw, and especially Cerro, I think, having come back into the game. Olimpia, they're playing away from home, so they would have been happy for the draw. And then, I don't know, the Ortiz goal is such a strange one to look at. So from the Olimpia perspective, it's a fantastic goal because it's, for people that haven't seen it yet, if you remember Zidane's goal in the Champions League final, where the ball's coming from so high up and he hits it left-footed, it's like that, but a scissor kick, and it's outside the box. I mean, so it's such a well-taken strike. But from a Cerro perspective, you're thinking, how has the ball been in the air that long and nobody's even got close to Richard Ortiz? And you can see there was a slight, Cerro cleared the corner through Alfio Oviedo, and Alfio Oviedo breaks because he's cleared the ball and he's a striker. And at that point, Cerro didn't kind of reset themselves. So you see this huge space where Ortiz is just hanging in, and I think his Patiño maybe is just covering his spot and expecting Rodriguez to come back, the left back. And Rodriguez is kind of broken forward, maybe from looking at Alfio Oviedo's header and breaking forward, and he's got stuck, and he just kind of freezes and doesn't come back. And that gives Ortiz the time to execute the scissor kick. And so from a Cerro perspective, it looks like very bad defending. And from Olimpia side, it's a brilliant, well-taken goal. And it's a bit of both, right? And that end result it's thrown the title race, I think, wide open. I don't think it's a Nacional's title to win just because they're 2 points clear. They have a tough game this week. They have Libertad. They still have to play Olimpia on the final day. Olimpia, meanwhile, have a pretty easy run now, the next 4 games, but then they have the showdown with Nacional. And Cerro still have Libertad, I think, at some point. They have Guarani as well this weekend. So for Cerro, is looking very difficult. But yeah, this has really opened it up. I would say it's still a 3-horse race because a 3-point gap between Cerro in third and Nacional in first, especially with Olimpia and Nacional playing each other. There's still something could happen in these last 5 games. I wouldn't give up hope as a Cerro fan, but it's really, I guess, shifted the favor towards Olimpia, that result.
Yeah, it definitely has shifted the entire table. Now we have an open field for all these teams, and a 2-point difference between the first and the second spot. It's pretty tight. It's a pretty tight race. So crazy Clásico like always. Definitely, I don't think a lot of Olimpia fans didn't expect this win. Obviously, you want to go in there with expectations to win, but it was in enemy territory. They did get a lot of Olimpia did suffer a lot outside of there was a lot of drama going on within the locker room. There was some stuff going on that kind of distracted. There was no water there for the team members, so that probably distracted them a little bit. The bus was attacked on the way in. All these things happen, especially in Paraguay, but they didn't have it easy, is what I'm trying to say. So for Olimpia to come out and have a great game like that, and 2 amazing goals. Richard Ortiz even said, "I don't even believe this, the goal that I had." So it was interesting to see how it has shifted for Olimpia. They're looking at a much brighter end of this Clausura, and like Ralph said, they have a couple of easier games coming up. I think that they need to focus on that, try to get the first spot, just continue to do what they're doing, because apparently it is working. They did suffer a big loss with Cáceres out, so hopefully we'll see how that works out for them. But yeah, I'm very happy, and hopefully this time they can win this Clausura and get some good luck on their side.
Yeah, I think it's definitely kind of a big blow for Cerro to not be able to get this kind of result, because I think certainly their run of form and the way that they've been playing hasn't been convincing, and you would think that if they were able to get some sort of win against Olimpia, their bitter rivals, it kind of would have eased it off, but I think it just makes matters worse. I think obviously the reactionary cause would be for many fans is to say you put the blame on Chiqui Arce, which I think, yes, you could put some blame in, but there were some players that I think weren't able to do it, like Ralph said, the defending on both Duarte and Patiño on the Daly's goal. No one really trying to mark Richard Ortiz before he scored, and I think there is a lot of issues that do need to be fixing, and certainly like you said, I don't think the race is over for any of the three sides, be it Nacional, Cerro, or Olimpia. But I think the way that they play it's not convincing of a league champion. They don't look like one, and so I think when you look in the contrast of how Olimpia have been playing, how Nacional have been playing, that's been shifted a bit better. And so I think, and like I said, I think there are still ways for it to change it and to swing it one way. Like we can come here next week and say, oh, Cedar are now top because Olimpia dropped points to General Caballero, and I think Nacional are playing Libertad or something along those lines. So it could indeed change. I mean, that's the beauty of it. But I just think that from like a purist perspective and the way that Cedar have been playing, it does not feel like they are a side that could indeed compete and contend to win the league title. For Olympia's case, go ahead.
It's just worth noting Olimpia have three of their 5 games left are home games, and they're unbeaten in their last 13 at home, winning 11. They had 2 draws where they kind of slipped up, but that and importantly, the game against Nacional, the final game of the season, is a home game, and so that really plays into their favor, I think.
And definitely that could be a title decider right there, just what we saw with Guarani and Cedro last year. So this could be a case where it could indeed go back to the final day, and I'm still gonna say that it is, because I think that's the beauty of it. But I think if Cedro do indeed drop points in one more game, just because of how close it is, I think it's time to say, yeah, I think between Olimpia and Nacional, that's going to be our next champion of the Clausura. But lot to go to. I think obviously, again, big win for Olimpia. Obviously, getting it at La Hoya is never easy for any side, really. And for Cedro, it's really soul searching. They really now have to claw back and really get the results, but also depend on hoping Olimpia Nacional do indeed get some bad results as well. So as we switch gears now to Europe, to the old continent, where we talk about a certain player playing in England, and that's obviously Miguel Almiron, who I think has been having his great start to a Newcastle season. Obviously, Newcastle are currently 6th. We're talking just 2 days after the win against Everton, thanks to Miguel Almiron's 5th goal of the season so far. So he currently has 5 goals to his name. He scored 4 in his last 4. So he's really on great form, Ralph. And I think it's certainly a testament. And I remember speaking to Chris Wyde when we did his interview that, this was kind of the make or break season for him, where he needed to show up in a side that was getting better, that is obviously expecting more. And, I think a lot of fans, I think a lot of pundits, and, we see so many people now raving about it. I don't know if it's that Grealish motivation again, like we kind of, the joke has been ever since the season started, really, for Newcastle. But yeah, I mean, talk about really great form for now Newcastle's top goal scorer, and I think right around the top 10 top goal scorers in the league. Okay, Haaland is running away with the Golden Boot, and he probably will win at the end of the season, but to put him in there into that kind of race is really great to see.
Yeah, it's been an incredible transformation, and a lot of people have talked about the Grealish comments and if that's the motivation. But I think what it really points to for us, that we know Almiron and we've seen him play and we've seen him win titles. I mean, remember, everywhere he went, he won titles. When he was a kid at Cerro, he used to come on as a sub and he helped them to, I think, is the 2017 or something title. He goes to Lanús, they win the title there, Lanús. Then he goes to Atlanta, he wins the title there. So suddenly he's at Newcastle, the first time really where he's not in a winning team. Newcastle don't regularly win things in top division, in major honors. So that maybe affected also some of his confidence as well. And his, he wasn't used to getting beat a lot. He was a winner. And so there was that. And then he was finding he wasn't even in the team much. So he must have been thinking, hold on, I'm a person that I'm usually winning titles. Now I'm not even in a team that can't win. So what's going wrong? I mean, I honestly think there would have been a huge confidence thing. And through Eddie Howe, giving him that starting lineup and giving him maybe a more of a defined role with less responsibility as well compared to some of the defensive duties of before, I think he's starting to flourish again and find himself. And the confidence part I'm talking about is the last 2 goals, right? The last goal was that left-footed curler outside of the box. The goal before was from a really tight angle where he smashes it in. and you're thinking, I mean, you only take those shots when you're very high on confidence and you're playing very well. And so that for me, that's what I'm really seeing from Almiron, is the Almiron that we knew, that we had seen before. People doubted if he could do it at this level, but I think he's now proving that yes, he certainly can at this level. He just needs that run of games and needs that backing from his manager. And now his form, he's let's fingers crossed, touch wood, everything, he remains injury free. But now he's done enough to feel confident of being in that starting lineup and just keep growing from there. So it's a great story, and it's good for the national team as well if he starts playing well.
Yeah, it's he's definitely flourishing again, and we love to see that. We always root for him from here, from Paraguay, from the entire world. Um, he's that confidence that he's been showing lately. It's all, I think, thanks to Eddie Howe, how he's giving him the opportunity to just do what he's supposed to do and what he loves to do, and that's it. That's all a player wants to do. They love the sport, and they get hired to do what they love, and I think that's what he's doing. The entire team loves him. All the fans love him, so he has everyone supporting him, and that's very important when you're a player. You want to feel that love, that confidence around you, and you feel much better doing what you love to do. So in terms of when he went to Newcastle, and he wasn't in a winning team. I think a lot of people felt that he was transitioning to he was moving to a team that was a transitional team, because I think a lot of people expected him to go from Newcastle to a much bigger team, because that's the kind of player that he was, or he is. And but to see that he loves to be in Newcastle, it's really interesting. And I think that he can probably take Newcastle to top of the charts, winning team, make them a winning team if they just give him the confidence. They just give him the green light to do what he should be doing. So there's definitely a lot more for him to go through, and continue learning. But I hope that he continues on the strike and that everything goes well for him, because it's really great to see one of our players do great, have great recognition from big players, big people like Grealish. So I don't know. I wish him the best. I hope he does bring that confidence into Paraguay as well. We'll see, in the next few friendlies how he does. Hopefully it doesn't distract him from his Newcastle duties as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think certainly, you kind of see this confidence, not just to him, but I think to the entire team in Newcastle. And obviously I think him playing that vital role shows that he is up for the task, and he is able to compete and then to help this side go further. Now, obviously now there is kind of this new mentality with the new owners and the ownership, and really just now this whole financial surplus that they have. I think it makes sense for them to do well in that end. So we'll definitely have to wait and see. And obviously that's a good transition, Maria, to the friendlies, because obviously Paraguay will be playing two friendlies, the final two of the year. They will be playing Peru in Lima, right just before the World Cup on the 16th. And then 3 days later, it's a homecoming for both you and Ralph. They go not to Miami, but they go to Fort Lauderdale as they take on Colombia at the Drive Pink Stadium, otherwise known as the Inter Miami Stadium. And so that's a really good test. And I think obviously Paraguay obviously are coming in a good form. I think 4 games unbeaten. They've played 3 national teams that are going to the World Cup, and they haven't lost to any of them, South Korea, Mexico, and Morocco. Now they're taking on 2 teams that obviously they're definitely familiar of, in Peru and Colombia, having played them in multiple games in South America. So, I think more often than not, I think speaking from a sporting perspective, I think it's a good way to really show what they're capable of doing. And obviously these are rivals that they have to play in qualification to go to the World Cup. But Man, Maria, and for you as well. It's really nice to see Paraguay play. I mean, I don't know how many Paraguay games you've been to in your lifetime, Maria, but to see them play here in the States, I mean, it's great for anyone that lives here. But to see them play in your home city, I mean, that's remarkable.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that you can't miss. You know, they come to your city and you have to be there. So hopefully Ralph and I can make it there. You know, that day. Um, you know, I think it's you know, not only is it a good game, but considering the fact that they're going to be playing against Colombia, who's a team that's apparently not having a great time right now. They're having a lot of issues with their coach. A lot of their players, you know, are also having issues. There's a lot of internal problems going on in that team right now. So hopefully that works out in our favor when we face them. Um, Obviously, there's going to be a lot of Colombians in Miami. It's Fort Lauderdale, excuse me. There's going to be a lot of rivalry going on, but I think it's going to be a game that's going to that's going to showcase our talents again. You know, we've been doing well in the friendlies. Not a lot of pressure of a great, you know, big competition, but it's a time to flourish. It's a time to test out what you have. It's a time for our coach to see what works best for us. You know, like we've been talking since the beginning. Work out what you have, use all your tools that you have, and I think that's what he's doing right now. So I hope it's a good game. It's gonna be a friendly, but it is a rival that we always face here. So there's probably gonna be some kind of rivalry feeling, competition type of atmosphere at the game.
Yeah, it's kind of like the mini South American World Cup for the teams that didn't qualify: Peru, Paraguay, and Colombia. We just needed Chile in there, maybe. But it's good. But by the way, it's important we do these friendlies because, for example, in 2018, Paraguay only played 3 games in the whole year. Go back to 1994, they didn't play a single game, but international football was a bit different there. But they have to take advantage of it, even though they're not going to the World Cup. They need to try and keep playing and keep the team together and find new solutions and new ideas. So it's important they play these friendlies. And I think it's probably the best opposition you could ask for with everybody else off to the World Cup at that point. And you want to play the kind of teams who, yeah, we're going to be fighting for a place for 2026. So it's I think it's a great idea. And then yeah, for us it's brilliant that we get to see Paraguay down here in South Florida, because I wonder if they played in Miami, I think, before. I need to check. I should have got my spreadsheet out before the show, but they've been there before. But it's been a long time that Paraguay have been down here in South Florida.
Last time I went to a game was in Orlando.
Right.
The game against Costa Rica in the Copa America.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
like that.
that's what I was thinking. That's probably as close as they got. But I think they did do Miami like way back in the 80s or the 90s. I'll check that out and put it on Twitter after. But yeah, I think it's a good test, and they should be able to have their strongest squad, because at this point, world football is shutting down for the World Cup. So all the clubs will be releasing players, and I can't see why they wouldn't want to release their players for these friendlies, but I think they would have to. So that's good news, as well as we get to see some of the people we're talking about, like Almiron, who's playing very well. He didn't come for the Mexico game, for example. So I think it will be a really good test, and it could be a good moment to throw in maybe one or two of those players that are on the edge of the team, but could also represent us in the under-20s, the Sudamericano, which includes Julio Enciso. It could be, but also people like Diego Gomez at Libertad, who's played for the senior side, Mati Segovia. So this is also a good test for them, maybe, before sending them off to the Sudamericano. So yeah, looking forward to it. And like I said, I wasn't expecting to see Paraguay play twice in a year. So this is a treat. It's like an early Christmas treat.
Definitely. And I think with the World Cup happening afterwards, it's mixed up into everything. You get to see in all case, all of us really, because we get to see our national team play, who, obviously is not going to the World Cup, but of course we get to see the countries that we all follow, like England for you, Ralph, or the United States, like me and Maria, and go and see them participate in the next few days. So definitely it does feel like Christmas a little bit, and hey, makes sense as well, given the season that we're going to be in, obviously, when the World Cup begins. So definitely it's a good way for us, at least as fans, and who definitely love the sport, to go out and enjoy ourselves. And yeah, I think obviously it would be nice to definitely go, and hopefully that all of us have the chance to definitely go and go to this game and see what the Paraguayan community is like. We definitely got a lot of them in Atlanta as well. Some people got there, and we were able to see so many people. Even though we were very much outnumbered by the Mexican fans, and we'll probably be outnumbered by the Colombians next month. But I think what matters is able to enjoy ourselves, and hey, maybe another win. I mean, it would be really nice to definitely get that. So it's going to be fun. I can't wait for that game, and I can't wait for the remaining, I guess, games that are going on in this Clausura race as we close out another great show of Guarani Vision. For myself, Ralph Hannah, and Maria Britos, thank you so much for listening in. See you soon.